When we hear the phrase killer robots, our minds instantly conjure up images of relentless machines from blockbuster movies like The Terminator or The Matrix, cold, efficient, and completely beyond human control. These cinematic robots are designed to be terrifying, unstoppable, and utterly devoid of empathy, making them the perfect villains for stories about the dangers of technology gone awry. These images, though fictional, tap into a very real fear that many people share: the idea of technology making life-or-death decisions without any human involvement. It's a fear rooted in the loss of control, and the possibility that machines could one day decide our fate. The term killer robot is powerful because it grabs attention and cuts through complicated technical jargon, focusing on the core issue: machines being given the authority to decide who lives and who dies, often in the chaos of battle. Experts and policymakers often use more formal terms like lethal autonomous weapon systems, but the phrase killer robot keeps the human cost and ethical stakes front and center, reminding us what's really at risk. This language has sparked a global movement, raising urgent questions. Should machines ever have the power to decide who lives or dies? Can we trust algorithms with such profound responsibility? Around the world, people are demanding answers. Science fiction has long warned us about the dangers of losing moral responsibility in warfare. These stories remind us that just because we have the technological capability to build something, it doesn't mean we should. The ethical dilemmas are as important as the technical challenges. The debate over killer robots is about much more than just technology. It's about the kind of world we want to live in, the values we choose to uphold, and the moral boundaries we refuse to cross. What was once the stuff of science fiction is now rapidly becoming a real possibility, as advances in artificial intelligence and robotics bring autonomous weapons closer to reality every day. In response, the campaign to stop killer robots was formed, a global coalition determined to prevent these nightmares from ever becoming reality, and to ensure that humanity remains in control of its own destiny. We believe there must always be meaningful human control over the use of force. No machine, no matter how advanced, should be allowed to make decisions of life and death on its own. The term killer robot keeps this principle at the forefront of international debate, ensuring that the conversation stays focused on ethics, accountability, and human rights. Today, the conversation has moved from movie screens and science fiction novels to the halls of the United Nations, where world leaders and diplomats are now deciding the future of warfare, and ultimately, the future of humanity itself. Officially, the United Nations refers to these as lethal autonomous weapon systems, or laws. This term has become central in global discussions about the future of warfare and the role of artificial intelligence in military technology. A laws is a weapon system that can independently search for, identify, select, and kill targets without any direct human intervention or oversight at the moment of action. These machines are designed to operate on their own, making decisions in real time. The key issue is that no human operator makes the final decision to use lethal force. The responsibility for life and death choices is shifted from people to algorithms. This marks a major shift from today's remotely operated systems, where humans still supervise, monitor, and can intervene or override the machine's actions if necessary. The UN's main concern is with the weapon's critical functions: searching, identifying, tracking, and attacking, when these are performed entirely by a machine, without human judgment or empathy. The line is crossed when a weapon system is able to select and engage a target on its own, acting independently from any human command. This development raises profound ethical and legal concerns worldwide, challenging long-standing principles of accountability and the laws of armed conflict. Defining laws is crucial. If the definition is too narrow, dangerous loopholes could allow new types of autonomous weapons to escape regulation. If too broad, even defensive or non-lethal systems might be banned, stifling innovation and security. The international community's goal is clear: to set a legal boundary that ensures weapons never operate outside meaningful human control, preserving oversight and responsibility. Ultimately, this is about preserving human dignity and accountability in armed conflict, ensuring that technology serves humanity, not the other way around. The biggest fear with autonomous weapons isn't just their advanced technology or their ability to operate without fatigue. It's the risk of losing meaningful human control over life and death decisions on the battlefield. When machines are programmed to make split-second choices, humans can't always intervene, question, or even understand the context behind those decisions. This creates a troubling accountability gap. If a robot kills unlawfully, who is held responsible for that action? Is it the programmer who wrote the code, the manufacturer who built the machine, or the commander who deployed it? Without clear lines of responsibility, war crimes and violations of international law could go unpunished, undermining justice. Civilian safety is at risk too, as these weapons may not distinguish between a threat and an innocent bystander. The laws of war require human judgment, distinguishing civilians from combatants, weighing proportionality, and taking all possible precautions to avoid harm. Machines can't replicate human empathy, intuition, or the ability to read complex social cues, making tragic mistakes more likely and more devastating. The spread of these weapons could spark a new global arms race, making them accessible not just to powerful militaries, but also to authoritarian regimes and terrorist groups. Conflicts could escalate rapidly, with machines fighting at speeds and scales that humans can't control or even comprehend. The result could be a more dangerous, unstable world, where violence spreads faster and consequences are harder to contain. The stakes are high, not just for soldiers on the front lines, but for families, communities, and entire societies. We risk creating a future where machines, not humans, decide who lives and who dies, removing compassion and accountability from the equation. That's why the call for meaningful human control is more urgent than ever before. The world must act decisively, setting clear rules and boundaries before it's too late to turn back. The United Nations is the main stage for global talks on killer robots, especially at the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons in Geneva. Since 2014, experts, diplomats, and civil society have debated how to address the risks of laws. The goal: a new international treaty to prohibit and regulate these weapons. The UN Secretary-General and the Red Cross have called for a ban, joined by scientists and Nobel laureates. But progress is slow. Powerful states like the US, Russia, and Israel resist binding rules, arguing existing laws are enough. Most countries support a treaty, recognizing the risks to humanity. The world faces a choice act now to set clear boundaries, or risk a future where machines decide life and death. The time to act is now, before technology outpaces our ability to control it. Killer robots aren't just science fiction. Militaries are already developing systems with growing autonomy. Loitering munitions, or kamikaze drones, can search for and attack targets with minimal human input. Israel's Harpy drone autonomously destroys enemy radar, and similar tech could target people in the future. The US Switchblade drone has advanced autonomous features, with the potential for full autonomy. Air defense systems like the Phalanx CIWS can automatically detect and fire on threats at speeds humans can't match. These are defensive now, but the same technology could be used offensively. The building blocks for laws are here. Advanced sensors, AI, and robotics are reducing human involvement. The shift from remote control to full autonomy is gradual, but real. That's why clear international rules are urgent. We must act before these systems evolve into true killer robots. The outcome of global talks on killer robots will directly affect Southeast Asia's security. A broad treaty could restrict defensive systems like CIWS, which many regional navies rely on. Southeast Asian countries must help define the rules to protect their legitimate defenses. Treaty definitions will shape the global arms market, affecting what technology is available for purchase. If excluded from negotiations, Southeast Asia risks having no say in future defense options. Without a treaty, an arms race in laws could force countries to divert resources from vital needs. The region could become less stable and more vulnerable. Whether a treaty is created or not, the ripple effects will reach Southeast Asia. Regional voices must be part of the conversation to safeguard their interests. Southeast Asia must be active in shaping the rules on killer robots. If major powers write the rules alone, smaller states' interests will be ignored. ASEAN's tradition of diplomacy and consensus is vital for promoting peace and stability. By engaging, Southeast Asian countries can advocate for human control and accountability. Their diverse moral and ethical perspectives enrich the debate, emphasizing human dignity and compassion. Not participating risks having unwanted rules imposed or becoming a testing ground for new weapons. Taking part is an act of sovereignty and self-determination. The Philippines has led by calling for a ban, Others should join for a unified regional voice. The future of warfare in Southeast Asia depends on their engagement now. Southeast Asian militaries already use systems that could be affected by future treaties. Vietnam's remote weapon stations and sentry guns are human-controlled now, but autonomy is the next step. Indonesia is developing drones and loitering munitions, with AI and autonomy on the horizon. Treaty rules will shape what features are allowed in these new systems. Singapore, a leader in military tech, faces choices about acquiring more autonomous platforms. A global treaty would guide ethical and legal decisions for all these countries. The technology is already present. The rules set now will have real consequences. Southeast Asian nations must analyze their needs and ensure their voices are heard. It's about security, sovereignty, and upholding international law. If powerful countries dictate the rules on killer robots, the result could be weak, loophole-filled treaties. Major powers want to keep developing these weapons, risking global security and undermining international law. For Southeast Asia, this could mean a dangerous new arms race and greater instability. Proliferation would empower non-state actors and destabilize the region. Active participation is a strategic necessity, not just a preference. ASEAN can use its collective voice to demand strong bans and meaningful human control. A unified stance would show that killer robots are a global concern, not just a niche issue. The decisions made now will shape whether technology erodes or upholds our humanity. Southeast Asia must help build a future where machines never decide who lives or dies. The time to act is now.